We've been drawing objects that are small, very small, at the 1-to-1 scale. So anytime that objects are drawn larger, we're drawing them at the full scale, the actual size. So this little square down here represents a sheet of paper, a small 8.5 by 11. And then the one next to it, this rectangle, is a 24 by 36 inch sheet of paper. So we're drawing this floor plan at the actual scale, which is going to be a lot bigger. And then if you can imagine that the text and the dimensions are in that little sheet of paper, they need to be scaled up to the size of whatever your object is. So we use scale factors to determine that scale. But if you were working with a larger piece of equipment that was bigger than a sheet of paper, then you would still need to increase the scale of the dimensions, the text, the line types, and the title block to print it so that it looks right. And so we have this kind of guide to go through. This is actually right from a GM standard. And so we have architectural engineering and metric scale factors for AutoCAD. But if you went online and you checked it out, you would also see these same charts. This is included in that module. So when we decide on the scale of our printed drawing, then we'll know our scale factor. And there is a lot more that goes on in these topics, but for what we're looking for in this class is something really basic, just the understanding that when the drawings are larger, we are increasing these 4 things down here: the line types, which we've kind of played around with those LT scales before with our hidden lines, the text, the dimensions, and the border. So if we have 1/4 of an inch equals a foot scale for our floor plan, we would then use a scale factor of 48. And that just means that everything here, not the objects, all that we just talked about, are 48 times the size of the 1-to-1. So you would take, for instance, the text height that you would want on a plotted text and just multiply it by 48. That's that number. So if for instance we wanted the text to be plotted at, let's say, 1/8 inch, we would just multiply 1/8 inch times the scale factor, 48, and we would know that the text height is going to be 6 inches. So a 6-inch height next to a wall just sounds right? It wouldn't be next to one of those small details that we've been drawing. Okay, so the other things like the line type scales, we just type in LT scale, and we then press enter and type in 48, just like we have been, and any hidden lines or center lines would look right at this scale. We don't have any for this project, but I just wanted to point that out. We are going to be changing the dimension scale so that the overall scale is 48 times the size. Okay, let's get started, because the idea is to create the walls and then put openings for the walls and draw 1 door and 1 window, and then we'll take a look at blocks so we can create a block and use that block to copy it where we need it. And then we'll be able to use the idea of working with blocks to insert these other objects that we use all the time from a library, like a table or a bed or a plant. So let's get started with the basics of starting a drawing that's larger than the ones that we've been using. And in this case, we're going to use the scale factor of 48. And this is the way that the finished drawing will look for assignment 12. So this is our new drawing. What we want to do, guys, is we want to use some of those skills that we've already learned. So go up here and save the file. Let's save that file as assignment 12, or the file name that your professor asked you to save it under, and then create your layers. The layers that we need will be these basic layers we've been working with. So go to layer properties and then create 3 layers. I'm keeping it as basic as I can in this class. We're going to create a layer called dim text that we have been using. I'm going to combine all the dimensions and text in that layer. And then another layer called door window, where all my doors and all my windows are going to go on that layer. And a third one called walls. Now we are going to need one more, so I'll just go ahead and create it here, called furniture. because we'll be bringing in some of those furniture fixtures and change the color there to whatever. Yeah, so at this point we have 4 layers: furniture, dim text, door, window, and walls. And change the color of those layers. The only setting we're going to change is the wall layer. We're going to make that line weight the bold one, like we have been the object layer. This is now called walls, and the line weight is 0.60. Then we'll go ahead and double click to make the walls layer current. So we won't have any hidden lines. You won't have to load the lines because we've already done all of that, but that would be what we would need to do, and then we'd have to change the line type scale, but we're keeping it basic. So the walls layer is current. You've got all of these layers created. The other thing that we have to make sure we do is change our units. Now we have 2 different places that we're changing our units. One is in when we create our dimensions, and the other one is the units of the drawing itself. So that's where you type in UNITS. So let's everybody type in UNITS, units, and press enter. And now we're going to change just this length type at the top left to architectural. Just that, and pick OK. What that does is it changes the way you see the numbers on the command line and in the dialog boxes, and also how you input the numbers. So instead of typing in 32 dash, all of this for 30 foot to foot 10, you're going to type in 33 apostrophe 10. So I'll put something together like this. Let me just show it to you. So let's say that we have, and I think we do have that in our drawing. Yes, we do. 33 foot 10. So 33 foot 10 inches is how long the wall is. But we're only going to type in 33 apostrophe 10. That's it. You don't need the dash, and you don't need the inches. So keep that in mind when you set up your units first. Make sure that you typed in UNITS and enter, and change what we just did, the length type, the top left, to architectural, because if you try to type in feet, you'll get this red box that says it doesn't recognize it, and that's why we changed it. So what if you had, just as an example, and I'm just pointing this out, what if you had I'm just making something up, 33 feet 10, and I'm just going to say 5/8 because maybe inch. Maybe you didn't know what the 5/8 inch decimal would be, right? So at this point you could type in 33 feet 10 and then the dash and then 5/8. That would work just like that. So this is what it actually is, and then this first one, and then this is what you actually type in. And then this is what the dimension is this is what you would type in. So if you have something like 6 foot, let's say 5 1/2 inches, you would type in 6 apostrophe, and you had the choice of typing in 5.5. So there it is. 6 foot 5 in a 5.5. So anytime that you have the 1/2 inch, you can type in the decimal equivalent of 0.5. And that's the same thing for the 5/8. If you knew that 5, divided by 8 was 0.625, you could have typed in over here 33 apostrophe 10.625, right? Okay, so let's moving forward with this. We do know that we have, starting from the bottom left, we have a line that goes over 28 feet, one that comes up 40 feet because I have the overalls right there. And it comes then over to the left 18, down 6 foot 2, and over to close out. Those are the outside walls. Instead of using a line, we're going to use a polyline. And also, we are zoomed really far down, like on a small, very small level in that really small corner there. So there are at least 3 or 4 different ways of like zooming up to our workspace. Some people use limits. I prefer to just draw a line that's 28 feet and then zoom back out to that workspace. So let's do that first. Let's draw a line that's 28 feet and see how far over it goes, right? So just instead of using the polyline just yet, let's start the line command, We've got the walls layer current. I'm going to click a point and I'm going to pull my mouse. Now, don't forget the apostrophe. Type in 28 apostrophe. It's that keyboard button right next to the enter key, apostrophe, enter. And then enter again. And what you'll see is that the line goes way off the board. So double click on the wheel of your mouse and then roll the wheel back and see how big it is. Now, I've gone through so many different versions of this, but this seems to be kind of a quick way of zooming back. If that doesn't work, you can type in Z, enter, E, enter for zoom extents. And then roll the wheel back and you'll see this line that's 28 feet. Now, if we didn't do that, we would still be zoomed up really close to the end of this. So that kind of gives us our workspace. That's what I like to do, other than like creating your limit and zooming out to it. And I'm sure that everyone who uses this software does it a little bit differently. A lot of companies will already have the really large title block, like border that's already in space and in place in the drawing. And sometimes I'll start the project that way as well to create the border itself, and then like that little sheet of paper, and then scale it up 48 times the size. Then that will be our paper that we would work within. Okay, so now that we have this line that's 28 feet, and it's pretty far up here, I'm not going to use it. I'm going to go over here and we'll get rid of that later, and we're going to start the floor plan right here, away from the origin in this space. We'll delete that later on. All right, now let's use our polyline. Start the polyline command, which is next to the line command. Click a point, pull your mouse straight to the right, and type in 28 apostrophe and enter. Now pull your mouse straight up and type in 40 apostrophe and enter. And I'm using my zoom commands to roll back and like pan over so I can get it in my space here. I'm going to pull my mouse to the left, 18 apostrophe and enter. And then straight down, we have 6'2". So it's 6 apostrophe 2, enter. Then pull your mouse to the left, 10 apostrophe, enter. And then C for close and enter. That would be the outside line. And because I use the polyline, it's all one piece. And the reason I use the polyline is that when I offset this line in the wall depth, which is 4.5 inches, the whole thing will be offset and I won't have to clean up the corners. Now let's say you got completely out of that and you ended up using lines, and each one of those lines were offset 4.5 inches. That's okay too. The thing is, then you would have to go in and clean up all those different little corners. So now we can start the offset command, type in 4.5 because it's 4.5 inches. But we don't ever have to type in the inches. It's just 4.5 and enter. Select that polyline and pull your mouse inside the plan, the floor plan, and click. And now you have your walls. Right click and enter, or enter. Now we don't need this line, so I'm just going to go back to the bottom left here and delete that 28-foot line. Just to keep it basic, all of our openings, and I put a little note down here that says all of the walls are 4.5 inches and all the door and windows openings are 3'4", 3'4", with a 2-inch frame. So each one of these has a little 2-inch frame. So the first thing we're going to do is create all of our openings. And we're going to do it in kind of a quick way. We're going to, because we don't have any specific place where they're at, and you're welcome to put more windows or redesign it. What I have is a window in, pretty much a window or two in each wall. So you're on the walls layer and you're going to start the line command, and just randomly I'm going to draw a line across the wall where I want one side of the window to be. So I'm going to draw a line there because I know I'm going to offset it 3'4" to the right. I'm going to start the line command again. You have to get it kind of away from the wall or else it'll kind of snap to. You see how it's snapping to the corner? So out here someplace, I'm just going to draw a line there. I right click to repeat the line, and then I click 2 points to draw the line, then I right click to enter, then I right click to repeat. So I'm only drawing one line for each one of these windows and doors because I'm going to use the offset command of 3'4" to offset it in the direction that I want it to go. So over here, I have another wall window opening here. And so I'm drawing that one. I'm going to offset to the right. You can decide on that. So I'm going to start the line command, draw a line here. I've got a door here, so I'll draw a line there and one here. So you get the point. You're only drawing one line of each one of these openings. So you've got that one line for each one of these openings. And like I said, if you want to put a window over here, it's up to you as long as you have these windows. And then start the offset command and type in 3'4. 3'4 and enter. Now I can click this line, click to the right, this one for the door, down, this one for the window. Here's another window. Here's a window, right? I've got a window there, a door there, and a window there, and another window there. So now I have all these openings of where the doors and windows are going to go. I can now start the trim command and start to trim these out. Now you see how this one I'm clicking each one of these opening, these extra lines, just to show you that we're making the opening. But you could hold your left mouse button down and drag your mouse across these. So I can go right here and just go all the way down across. Done. All the way down right here. Done. There. Whoops, I missed those. There. See how I went back? And then I do need to get in here so I can kind of like go across these openings. You're welcome to do them one at a time, or you can hold your left mouse button down and just go across those openings. Just be careful where the openings are so you kind of keep track of where they're at. All right, so there it is. We created our wall and we offset it. Then we created our lines and offset those for the openings. And now we're ready to draw one door and one window. I'm going to zoom up here so that I can draw this door at the top right in this window. Okay, so let's make the door window layer current. Drop this list down and click door window. Now remember there's a 2-inch frame on these. So I'm going to start the line command and draw that little 2-inch frame. I'll draw this door first. So start the line command. You're on the door window layer. I'm going to click a point here at the end of the opening. Pull your mouse down and type in 2 and enter. Now you can track if you want to get close enough. Remember, we can track by resting our pointer here and coming over here, and as long as I see those green tracking vectors, I can click and then pull my mouse back up here and click and right click and enter. Or you can just at this point pull your mouse to the right, type in 4.5 and enter, and then come back here and click and enter. Right? So it really, it depends on how comfortable you are with using your right click menu and tracking. So repeat the line, come down here, click a point, pull your mouse up and type in 2 and enter, pull your mouse to the right and type in 4.5 and enter, and then back to the wall and click, right click and enter. That's how we're going to just draw these little 2-inch frames. Now we have the door. The door is actually 3 feet because we have 2-inch frames on each side. So we'll start the line command. We'll click here at the end of this frame right there. Pull your mouse to the right. Type in 3'4. Well, no, just 3, right? Just 3 apostrophe and enter. And then enter again. So that should be a 3-foot line. If you want to verify that that's a 3-foot line, you can double click on it and look in this little menu. It shows you the length is 3 feet. Now, if we didn't change our units, that would have said something like 36.0000. So I'll go ahead and escape out of that. So now we have our 3-foot door. We're ready to do the arc. So underneath arcs, there are all different ways that we can do this. Start and radius is one that I used to use, but I use start and direction. So start and direction is just the start point of the arc, the end point of the arc, and then you pull your mouse in the direction that it's going to go. So start and direction. I'm going to click the end of this door, and then over here, the other end of this opening. You see how when I move my mouse around, the arc goes in the direction I want it to go in. So I'm going to kind of find that spot where it's at and find that kind of tracking vector to get it right in place and click. And there's my door. All right. Since the window is in the same layer, we're going to get to practice and draw it again. Draw the frames. So for this window right here, I'm going to start the line command, click a point, pull your mouse down and type in 2 and enter, to the right, 4.5 and enter, and back and click. Right click and enter. Right click and enter to repeat the line. You're welcome to go back or press enter. Pull your mouse up and type in 2 over 4.5 and back and click. Now with the window we have 3 lines. We're going to have one line that's going to be the outside frame, another line that will be this inside frame, the outside frame, and then you'll need to make sure that your midpoint object snap is on, because for that midpoint or that glass, some computers will revert back to the original settings. Like if you're using Splashtop or you're on campus using those computers, you'll need to come down to your object snaps. We've worked with these before at the bottom, and put a check mark in front of midpoint. Then you can go start the line command and click the midpoint. It's going to have a little triangle, and come down here and pick here. Right click and enter. And there is our door and our window. Okay, so when we talk about blocks, we talk about, it's a huge topic. I used to teach 4-hour classes on just blocks, but the idea is that we can create a block of all of these individual pieces so that it's all one piece and it's easier to work with. And also the idea behind blocks is that you can insert other drawings into our drawings, or kind of pull these blocks of objects into our drawing because they've already been drawn before and they're in some library somewhere, right? And you can even purchase these and get a lot of these online for free, and I'll talk about that a little bit later as we start to bring these in. So right now, let's take a look at creating a block inside the drawing of this door. Because right now, get close to that door, we have 8 pieces. We want to create it so that it's just one. So look for the panel called block there. I don't think yeah, it does when I maximize this. And you'll see that inside the panel called block there in the home tab, there's an icon called create. And so we're going to click on create. And there are 3 things we're going to do here. We're going to give it a name, and we'll call it door. So just type in door right here under the name. And then we're going to decide on a base point, like where do we want it on our pointer when we bring it into our drawing. So we're going to click on this little icon to the left of pick points. And we want to pick someplace on a corner that's close to the wall, so that when we bring it back in, we can click on the wall. So right here at the very top left corner, it doesn't matter as long as it's like close to the wall. So I'm going to go right on that corner. And then we want to select the objects. So under objects, we want to click on that icon just to the left of select objects. And this is where you want to come in and get all of these little pieces. So you get just these 3 pieces of the frame, the door, the arc, and then these other 3 pieces here, not the wall, just the 3 here for the frames on both sides, the door and the arc, and then press enter. And you'll see the little image right there. We don't have to do anything else, but if you see underneath here, it says that it's going to take this original door and convert it to a block, which is good. That's what we want. And let's go ahead and pick OK. So it doesn't look like anything's happened, but look, when you put your pointer close to this door, you see it's all one piece, and now it's a block reference. Now, if you roll your wheel up here and take a look at where that door is, it's over here. Instead of copying it over, which we're going to be doing that anyways with the, could be doing it with the window, we're going to insert it. So go to insert right here, which is still in that panel called block, and you see there's your door. You created that door, and it's now in this drawing. We can go ahead and click on it. You see how it's at the end of my pointer? So I'm going to come over here and find that corner right there and click. So it did swing the door over to the other side. And the reason that that's happening is this is kind of a new tool here. When you get close to the wall, you see how it's flipping it? It's able to decide on, you know, which direction it's going to go in. Just by pulling your mouse up or down, you can pull your mouse up and make sure it's swinging the right way and then click. And it doesn't matter to me if it's swinging one way or the other. It's a new feature here that allows us to move our pointer around to find which direction we want it to swing in. Okay, so there's our door. So let's go back to that same idea and create a block of this window. So this window right here is still the individual pieces. So we're going to go to create and type in window. I'm going to pick a base point right here next to the pick points right there. Of course, just like we did before, we want to make sure that it's a point that's on the wall. So right here at the top left. Select the objects. So we'll click on this icon next to the left of select objects. And we can actually put a box around just the 3 lines for the window glass and frame, and the little lines that make up the frame on the other side, and then enter. You'll see the little image of it. Pick OK. So now that object turned into a block, and I'm ready to insert it into these other walls. So I can go up to insert, and there's my window. I'm going to click on window. I'm going to go up here and click there. I'm going to go up to insert and pick window. Come over here and click here. Same thing. I'm going to go ahead and click here. Now we do have 3 windows that need to be rotated. So there are a lot of different ways we can do this. We can do this a different way as we insert it, but I think to learn how to rotate it, we're going to put it in one time up here, and then we'll copy it, because I think it's important to learn how to copy as well. So let's go up to insert, grab that window, and we're just going to go ahead, and I know that there's a rotate right there. So let's out in space, let's go ahead and click and place it. Because what I want to show you is that when you have these blocks in place, you can click on the window, and now that blue grip becomes a base point. I can click inside just once, just click once on the block, the window, then click once inside the blue grip, and then right click and pick rotate. Pull your mouse in the direction you want, which will go straight down, and click. Now we rotated it, and we can even use this blue grip, that is the insertion point that we created, to move it. So I'm going to click there. See how it lets me come over here and move it. And there are so many different ways of using rotate and moving those objects. We have the move command, we have the rotate command, all in the modify panel. Now that we have our window there, we can copy it several times using that same base point. So let's do that. Start the copy command. Select the window, enter it, pick where you want to pick up the object. That's the hard part about the copy command, because you want to go back up here and pick where you want to pick it up, right at that frame right there, at right between the window and the door. You see how it picked it up? And now I can come over here and pick to copy it, and because I still have it on my pointer, I can come down here and click, and that copies it over. And then here you can enter or escape out of it. And there is our floor plan. So I created a PowerPoint that shows you each one of the tabs to change your decimal dimensions to architectural. So let's go through that now. I did post this as additional resources. Here are the dimensions, and so let's set those dimensions up. We can set the dim text layer current. So let's do that. Drop down this list and set the dim text layer current. And now let's type in D and enter. What we're going to do here is something a little different. We're going to, instead of changing the standard style, we're going to create a new style for this dimension so that we can keep the standard one, and then we have our own. So we're going to pick the new button instead. So we type in D and enter. We're going to pick the new button right there. And we're going to call this ARCH 48. ARCH 48. For the scale factor of 48, it starts with the standard. So we're just kind of like changing the standard, but we're giving it a new name. And pick continue. Okay, so this is where we go to the primary units tab. We just have a few things to change because the default is decimal. And once you change all of these, you can make this part of your template file. We haven't talked about template files yet, but we are going to create one. A template file will hold all of these settings that we've been learning about, all the layers, all the dimension styles, all that you would like to create as your standard. So let's get started with the primary units tab. We know that the linear dimension for the unit format is going to be architectural. And just like when we were suppressing the leading 0, we're going to suppress here inches. So we don't want to see like 0 feet, 4.5 inches. So take the check mark out of inches and let's go to the Fit tab. In the Fit tab, just to the left of the primary units, we want to change the overall scale right there right there underneath the preview where it says use overall scale of, we're going to change that to 48. And what that does is it will take your whole dimension and increase it 48 times the size. So you don't have to increase all those little pieces like some companies do. They'll go in and they'll increase the arrow, the text size, and all of that. No, just the way to do this is to use the overall scale and then go to text. Now we'll just use the standard text height style, but the text height, let's change that to an 1/8 inch because then it'll match our text height. The text height of the dimensions will match the text height. But under text placement, we want to change the vertical from center to above. We want to pick in front of aligned with the dimension line there at the right hand side. So you see how the preview is showing a more architectural style. We are going to keep the arrowheads as closed filled, but this is where you would get your tick marks if you wanted those. And that's it. Let's go ahead and pick OK. And let's make sure that your ARC 48 says current dimension style right there. If it doesn't say current dimensional style ARC 48, pick set current. It should though, and close. Now, if you come with your dim text layer current, let's place this 18 foot and see what it looks like. We'll go to linear and click the top right corner, the top left corner of just a small piece. Pull your mouse up and click, and there it is, 18 feet. If it doesn't look like that, you can type in D and enter and go back. Make sure that it looks right. So right click and repeat the dim linear. Remember, we're picking the corner of the objects that we want to dimension. So right here and here we have our 10 feet. Make sure you line it up. Don't try to eyeball it here, right? You're going to go over to the existing dimension and click so it's right on. And then continue with the 28 feet that goes all the way up here at the top. We do have a little 4.5 inch right there. I'm just going to click the two corners of this wall and pull my mouse down and click. And so what I did here was, in order to get that word typical in there, we've done this before, you can double click on the 4.5, and then you see the blinking cursor is to the left of the number. So we want to use our arrow key to arrow over and have the blinking cursor to the right of the 4.5. Put a space in there, and with your uppercase put typical, and then click in space right there. Now what we want to do is escape out of that or enter so that we can click on this dimension, click inside the blue grip and pull it over to the other side. I pulled it over to the other side so that I could get something in here, and not a huge detail, but I just wanted to be able to pull it out of the floor plan. All right, so we added text to this 4.5 inch typical. It would normally put just TYP and people would know what that's typical, but I wrote the whole thing in so that you would know. All right, back to dim linear, or back to linear, and we have our 6'2" right there. And keep dimensioning. Make sure you're picking the object on the corner, the outside corner, and line it up with the existing dimension. So make sure it's on the corner for these dimensions. It should have 40 feet, 6'2", and I think that's it, guys. Yeah. So let's put our text. Our text right here is 6 inches, and we knew that from multiplying an 1/8 inch times 48. So when we place our text, we're going to change the height as we place it. So we're going to multi-line text as we have been, but this time you can see that the little ABC, you can't see it, right? So it's too small. But when you click, first click and then look at your command line. Your command line has height in it. So either click on the word height or type in H for height. And your next command line should say specify height. You're going to type in 6 and enter. Now you can see the ABC. You can pull your mouse over to the right and click and type in the rest. We have assignment 12. I would put here floor plan. Make sure that you put all of this in. Scale is 1/4 inch space equal space 1 foot space dash space 0 inches. I mean, you want it to look right? And then student name. Now, it's your choice if you want to put in all the rest. I won't put it in, but if you want to put it in for your reference, all of this is saying what the typical door opening is and your scale factor and your units. I'm just going to go ahead and underline. So highlight assignment 12 floor plan and underline it, and then click in space. And there's your title right there, floor plan. Now it's up to you if you want to change. Sometimes the top title is a little bit bigger than the scale. So if you leave it like that, that works. But if you double click and you highlight floor plan, assignment 12 floor plan, up at the top left, you see where it says 6 inches? You can click on that. Don't use the drop down and make it, I don't know, 8 and enter. See, it's a little bit bigger. It's whatever you want to do. Let's go ahead and click in space. If you left it at that same 6 inches, that would be good as well. All right, so that's their floor plan. And so now what I did was I posted a drawing in Canvas. It's this Design Center AutoCAD blocks. And the Design Center is another way of getting blocks. That's something outside of what we're doing in this class, but what this is a drawing of all those blocks. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little arrow to download it, and it will download into your downloads. And then at that point, you can go ahead and open it. And now you have the other file open. So you have 2 files open. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. So once you download it and double click on it to open it, you'll download it. You could go into your File Explorer folder under Downloads and double click on it to open it. Now you have 2 files open. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one. This is the original one that you won't have. So now you should have 2 files open. The floor plan that you just drew and this Design Center blocks file. And you'll see them both in this tab. So because the Design Center is not available in Mac computers, I might create a additional video for that. So take a look under additional resources. Otherwise, what we're doing is we're opening 2 files, and now we're going to go to View, the View tab, not the Home tab, but the View tab, and then pick Tile Vertically. It's way over on the right-hand side. You might actually get this start. Yeah, I just wanted to show you that this what could happen to you, because it does sometimes. Oh, it's now you have to reenact it somehow. If you happen to do the Tile Vertically and this one right here, the start menu is there, then minimize it. So you could minimize it by clicking the middle button, and it'll go down into this little rectangle there. And then use Tile Vertically again so that you just have these 2 open. And it doesn't matter if one's on the left side or one's on the right side, because at this point they're kind of like free to be dragged around. So I just happened that this one is on the right hand side. I think yours is probably going to be the opposite, but either way, you've got them both open and they're both in your face. So go to the floor plan, make sure it's, you click inside of it, and that's the one that has the color. See how this one's kind of grayed out. And make sure that the furniture layer is current. So drop the list down here and click on furniture. See this new layer called Def Points? You did not create that. Just from way back, that layer is created the first time that you draw dimensions. Just leave it alone. It's one that holds the little definition points that are at the end of the dimension extensions. So make the furniture layer current. Come over to this other file that's open at the same time. And now this is where you decide. You decide on whatever design you want to use. But just to show you as practice, click on this table. Now you can see that this file is something I created with all of these blocks that came from the Design Center. And so they're all blocks, but what we're going to do is click on one of them just once, hold your right mouse button down and drag it over into the drawing, let go, and pick Paste as Block. Now, I know it's already a block, but if it wasn't a block, if it was just, regular objects that you wanted to pull over from one file to another, then you could paste it as a block and it comes in as a block. Now, the only disadvantage of that is that when you go here up to Insert, you'll see that the block that you brought in has all these kind of gibberish, a name that AutoCAD gave it. Just wanted to point that out to you, but it does create a block that's inside that file. Okay, so you go ahead and decide. There are a lot of things here. I think I did say on the drawing that create your own layout with at least 5 blocks. So 5 times we want you to come over here, grab something, hold your right mouse button down, drag it over, let go, and paste as a block. If I pick copy here, I just want to show you what happens. It will go onto the layer 0, which was the block reference layer. You don't want that. So if that does happen, click on your block and drop this list down and move it to the furniture layer. And now let's say I want to rotate this table, right? Again, you can click on it, click inside the blue grip, right click, go to rotate, pull your mouse up and click. And there are other ways of rotating. Up here in the rotate or modify panel, here's rotate as well. Click the rotate icon, select your object, enter it, pick a base point, and start rotating it. So there are different steps. But if you watch your command line, you can work with it. And also, if you select an object and you hold your left mouse button down on the object, you can drag it to where you want it to go and let go, just like that. All right, so have fun with this. You can see that we're working with a floor plan. So like if you bring this car in, that's not a floor plan, unless you want it to be the rug. Maybe you draw a rectangle around it. That's like the rug design. So as long as you have 5 pieces in there, that is your experience with it. Now, if you wanted individual pieces here, there are a lot of different ways of working with blocks. So I'm just going to go ahead and maximize this file and talk to you a little bit about that. You can explode these in order to change them, but you can also double click on them to go inside. So I'm just going to show you this. If I double click on this table and I pick OK, I'm inside the file, inside it. And because it's a block, that's the other kind of bad thing, is that this was already a block. It's not exploded. So it's like there's a block inside a block. So I would have to actually go back to the Home tab, pick explode or type in explode, select it and enter it in order to explode it, because I just wanted to show you that you can modify it. So if I take these lines out, let's just say I right click and erase and I take these lines out, I've changed it in some way. Up here in the top right, when I pick close block editor, I'm going to have the choice to save the changes. And if I save the changes, then any table that's in here that has that same name will update, right? And see, it still stays as a block. It's completely up to you. If you explode the block, just make sure you know what you're doing, right? You explode the block, you see what happens? Every little piece is completely different. So I'm going to do an undo because we don't want to do that. Usually we don't want to do that. But we may sometimes explode the block and then modify it the way we want it to, and then create a block out of it. And then we have a block that's inside the file right here. Another way of creating a block, and I do need to mention this, is to create a W block. This is not required, but I wanted to mention to you, if you type in W block, W-B-L-O-C-K, what we can do is we can create an entire DWG out of that table, and then we can put it into other files. We put it in your library. You have a huge library of furniture and you're starting to build your library. That's what I did my very first project years ago. I drew everything, I pulled in everything I wanted. I used W block to create drawings of my individual smaller drawings, and then I could pull them out of the library and insert them into other drawings. So here, I'm going to go through the process with you because I think it's important for you to understand. We're going to be creating a DWG, a drawing file out of this table. So it's out of objects. I'm going to pick the base point just like we did. Maybe I'll use the corner of this table. And I'm going to select the objects here. And the only difference here besides where it's going is that it's creating a path. It's creating a file. So I'm going to click on this little icon with the 3 little dots right there. And let's just say I'm going to put it in this file. I'm going to call this my table. And now look at what it's creating, a DWG. So it's going to go in some kind of folder that you're going to use later on to insert it into another drawing. I'll pick OK. And very quickly, you're able to then go into your library and pull in things that you've already drawn. So don't draw something more than once, right? When I go to insert this time, I'm going to go to blocks from library. So if I go to insert and down to blocks from library, I can navigate over to that DWG now that I created, that's my table, and bring it into any file. And when I do that, this is new, a couple of releases back, it creates this menu, and now it's there, and now I have to hold my left mouse button down and drag it into my drawing and let go. And there it is. So, but this is how you would then be able to start to create a folder of all these pieces of things that you use all the time to be able to use them in other drawings and keep your files organized. You may even get a job in our industry at first, organizing these digital files. All right, so I'm going to close out of that, and so there it is, creating a floor plan with the scale factors in mind and changing your dimensions and bringing in blocks. So for your portfolio, let's save the file, and then if you go to the plot dialog box right there, little printing, I have more than one file open, which you might also pick continue to plot a single sheet. And we're going to go back to creating a CAD PDF high quality print, 8.5 by 11, change the display window. We're going to get kind of close here like this. Put a check mark in the center of the plot, change your pen assignments to monochrome, pick yes. We'll go ahead and pick portrait and apply to layout and then preview. Make sure you preview it. There it is. It's looking good. If it looks good like that, you're ready to right click and plot. And so these are those drawings that you're saving so that you can create your portfolio and kind of keep a PDF of your drawing. I do want to also point out to you that if you are plotting this on paper to a plotter, you can plot it to a specific scale. So right now we just printed it to fit the paper. But if I take the check mark out of fit the paper and I change this custom scale to 1/4 of an inch equals a foot, down at the bottom, 1/4 of an inch equals a foot, I need to change the paper size. So the paper size would probably be something bigger. Let's just say an ANSI D 24 by 22 by 34. Well, that's going to be portrait. So I'll go with ANSI D 34 by 22. This is just to show you here that if I did that at 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to pick preview. Oh, I forgot that I had the portrait on. So I would go landscape and preview. And you see the point of that is to show you that for this assignment, we printed at fit to paper. So we just fit something to a paper without any scale. But the whole idea behind scaling everything up 48 times the size is so that when we print it, we can print it at a specific scale. At 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. And now if I printed this on a larger sheet, because it won't fit on 8.5 by 11, then it would be to scale. See what would happen if I change this back to 8.5 by 11? Yeah, it won't fit. So you'll know right away what scale fits on what size paper too. So for this assignment, we did just put a check mark and fit the paper, but I wanted to point out to you that you could print at a specific scale by taking the check mark out and using a custom scale here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of this and let us know if you have any questions as we look at working with drawings that are bigger than a 1-to-1 scale. The same idea applies to if we were working with metric, because metric would be 25.4 times the size. Potentially that would be your overall scale for your dimensions. All right.